Welcome to this, your daily briefing. Hopefully one of 6 or 7 today, who knows. I find myself here in this resplendent beer garden, which I can only recommend to you. That's real, that is. Really old. So, England are through. Harry Kane failed to score, but as ever, wise words from our man Jose Mourinho. With Harry, I would ask, how many chances has he missed? 0. How many crosses have been delivered to him? 0. How many vertical passes into his feet in between the lines? 0. And even those staunchly opposed to everything that Jose Mourinho says and does are going to have problems disagreeing with this assessment. Kane's had no service at all. And the first thing people start to say about strikers when they're not scoring is they look leggy, they look this, they look that, they look the other. There's nothing wrong with Harry Kane. That England squad is dysfunctional. I don't understand what the tactics are all about. And even though Sterling has got 2 goals, he doesn't look like he's light years ahead of Kane in any respect. The fake news continues apace. ESPN are running with Raheem Sterling would not be keen on a move to Tottenham. You don't say. There's about 300,000 reasons a week why Sterling wouldn't be keen to move to Spurs. And then you add on top of that, there's no coach. There's the booby prize of European football, the Europa Conference League, and a squad full of players that have effectively stalled. Now, it's really difficult to describe the Mona Lisa down the phone to somebody. So it's going to be as impossible for me to convey the Swiss ramble that does economic analysis of football clubs to you that brilliantly using a video that doesn't have any slides, although we are working on that. But there's some interesting stuff come out. It's the stuff that's on their Twitter feed at the moment, on the chaps' Twitter feed, as ever, is really well researched, well worth your time, at Swiss Ramble. And what's interesting here is that, and I'm going to look down at my notes, so you have to bear with the eyeline thing going. Although it's impressive that Man United was still profitable with COVID, the 18 million profit before tax is a lot lower than the 58 million they made in 2019, which is obviously pre-pandemic. And also worth noting that United's 26 million profit after 9 months in 2020 became ultimately a £21 million loss. And shorthand for that tells us that if we deduct 18 from 58, we're left with 40, whereas Daniel Levy is talking about 200 million. I mean, even with adding Guns N' Roses and stuff onto that, I'm struggling to see how you come up with such big numbers. But who knows? Player spending overall, and this is across the board, there's a few graphs on there which are worth mentioning because they have us in it. And Spurs came 5th, which again reinforces the notion that we do spend, but we just don't spend very well. Gross debt, we're ahead of the pack. We owe more than any other Premier League side by roughly 300 million, which is scheduled long term, I grant you, but it still has to be paid back. Transfer debt payables is a worry for Spurs. Arsenal are in pole with 154 million outstanding, United 149, and Spurs 140. The real worry, however, lurks just beneath us, where Wolves and West Ham are both over 100 million. And if you consider what they've done against that, that's bad. Everton aren't too clever on that front either. The reaction to the Supporters Trust business has been mixed, to put it mildly, and by that I mean diplomatically. Most people have called them out for what they are, and this whole sort of emotional, but this is the club I grew up with, this is the club I support, you owe me, doesn't wash with people with triple-digit IQs. Here's 3 of the best ones from this place. Boogie Doctor, I'm lost for words. That's the most stupidly naive hogwash I've ever heard. We could we would have to expand the stadium and get planning permission to extend the boardroom. Absolute nut jobs. Jim Peters, I love your videos. Thank you, Jim. I love you loving my videos. And this is one of your best. Sure, we're all sick to the back teeth with Levy and Enoch, but to have Marxist-Leninist representation anywhere near the board would be an utter disaster. And I think this is a mainstream opinion. I don't think you have to be some cranky far-right lunatic to call them out for what they are. And Robert Kane says, you have said it and so have I. If you don't like the samosas, then you don't have to buy them. We will affect change only through financial pressure on the business. I wonder how many of the trust are season ticket holders. There is another channel with brothers that have their Enoch out signs on set. I think we know who we're talking about here. They both renewed. That's not very staunch Enoch out, is it? And their thought was, well, if we don't buy them, somebody else will. Right, so you were just outside the stadium for clicks. I thought so. Clearly many simply don't get it. Don't give the owners your money and things will ultimately change. The communist approach is dead on arrival. Now, I don't know any of these people, but the idea that people that aren't me are referencing extreme socialist economic models with the trust, that's got to be worrying, hasn't it? And the booby prize story of the day goes to Andros Townsend. And he came out on TalkSport yesterday. I only caught the end of the clip, but he's backing Ryan Mason to be taken over as the takeover as the new coach at Spurs, or the new old coach, or the old new coach, whichever way you want it. Simon Jordan destroyed him. Described Mason by saying, in footballing terms, Mason is a child. He's a boy. The problem we have with people like Andros and Mason and all these people is it's another one of these guys that are just too clean cut, too vanilla, never won anything, never will win anything, and they're these soft option clowns that Levy surrounds himself with. There needs to be, I really do feel that they need to get a new CEO in at Spurs, for somebody who will trickle down from the boardroom, something that's a bit more like strength and honour, opposed to, hey, have you seen my eyelash tint, as a kind of like mission statement. There just isn't the guts, there isn't the mental strength. We've banged on about that forever, but there fundamentally isn't the minerals there with any of these guys, and there's too many of them in the team. And it's difficult to know how you're going to make any progress unless you start getting rid of these characters. There's nothing wrong with having nice guys around, but as Mourinho told us and perhaps taught us, they don't win you anything. Right, I might be back, I might not be back. I shall leave you in that state of suspension. Good luck, keep it Tottenham.